Hi viewers, let's see the app we are going to develop in the next couple of lessons. The app is connected to the Firebase database, right? And you will see there's a main menu where you got employee options and listing all employees. This table view controller we have put here, right? And when you click on employee details, you will be taken to a page where you can add, insert, search, delete employee data, right? So let us say in this Firebase database, you can see in the background, let's say I want to search for records and delete them, right? So let's say I select one and search. You can see it loads the data from the database. And let's say if I delete it, right, it deletes the data from the Firebase real-time database. That's awesome, right? So let's start. Let's say if you want to insert a new record, right? So you can say employee number one, let's say Anne, right? And let's say a salary of 50,000, right? And let's say Anne is from Melbourne, right? Awesome, right? If you click save, you can see it real time updates a Firebase database. That's wonderful, right? That's about search and delete. And let's say if you want to change the salary of J, right? So you say you can search for J first using the app, right? Let's say you search and it says salary of J is 30,000. Let's say you want to make it to 40,000, right? Let's say you're going to make it, change it to 40,000 and just click save, right? You will see that it gets updated in the real-time database. That's awesome. That's wonderful. So save, delete, search functions are working. Not only that, you can just go and change a few stuff. Let's see. Awesome. So then once you are done with that, you can swipe it and list all the employees, right? That's another feature of the app we are going to develop. So you can see the data. Say, let's say you got 1, 2, 4, right? So let's say see one Peter, Anne, and Jay is there. Let's swipe this down and let's insert a new record, right? Let's say we insert record number 3. Let's put some sample data here. Okay, so let's save the data for Frank, right? Awesome. And now if you swipe down and if you go and check the list of employees, you can see Frank is there. That's an awesome feature of this app, right? And there's another nice thing of this app, right? Another awesome feature. So if multiple users, just assume if multiple users are viewing this app, right? The app you are going to develop has real-time synchronization features, right? Just assume these are two users using the app, right? And if one user add a new employee, let us say a new employee record, let's go to the bottom, say employee record 5, let me put the data first. So just assume if one user save, see what will happen to the other user phone, right? So if I click save Mary's details, awesome. See, the database got updated and on real-time synchronization, the next user will see the data being inserted, right? So that is an awesome feature of this app you are going to develop. But it's very important that you have to make sure to look at the next couple of lectures in Firebase database programming, that is part 2, part 3, until we complete this app. It explains all the theory and the practical knowledge which you need to know about developing this app, right? Okay, friends, we are very excited to show you how to develop this app practically, and let's do it now. Hi viewers. So this lesson is Firebase database programming part 1, and let's dig into details and see what's inside this lesson. Tools we'll be using is Xcode version 11.4.1 and Apple Developer Docs. Prerequisite, it's very important you look at the previous lessons mentioned, Firebase introduction and a bit of table views, right? You have to look at some of the previous basic lessons in Objective-C as well. In this lesson, you will learn creating a Firebase project and creating a real-time database and inserting some sample data using the Firebase console. Lesson plan will be practical demonstrations. So let's go and see, viewers, let's see, let's start with it, right? So you have to make sure that you have an account to connect to Firebase, right? Like so that you can log in and you can go into this Firebase console, right? And the first thing is when you do database programming, you need to make sure you create a Firebase programming for iOS. You need to make sure you create a project, right? So in the Firebase console, right, what you do first is you create a project, right? So then you have to give a name for your project and make sure you give a meaningful name for your project. Okay, so I have given a meaningful name and then you have to accept the terms and say continue. And you have to just keep the default options and continue, right? Or analytics, right? And just say that you accept this basic stuff, right? The agreements. and click create project. Create project. So it's creating your project now. Okay, so it has successfully created the project. Let's click continue. So now you will see that your project has been created, right? So we did the first thing, that is we created the Firebase project, right? And now let's look into the other options in this, right? And so the next option is you will click on the develop tab, where you will see various options. So we will go to the database tab, right? Database menu option, and then it's loading the database. So you can say create database, right? Just click on create database option, right? Just say create database, and then you got two options, whether to start it in production mode or whether to start in test mode. So if you start in production mode, there will be some restrictions applying read write access, but because you are still developing, you better start with test mode, and it will get reset to the production mode, right? So test mode has more access, right? More read write access. Click next, right? And then okay, you have to select a Firestore location. Just select something default, right? And click done. Let's say done, right? So it's setting up the security rules, and it's creating your database. Okay, viewers, so it created the database, and you can see like okay, the console of this, and there are two options, the Firestore option and the real-time database. So look at our previous lesson on Firebase introduction for you to understand the difference of the two, right? But we'll start with the real-time database. So I'm clicking on the real-time database, right? And then what I'm going to do in this lesson is, so what we are going to do is we are going to create some sample data, right? So what you do here is to create some sample data, you will click on this plus icon over here, right? So when you click on the plus, let's do a couple of experiments. Let's say you want to store employee data, right? So if I say okay, employee number, and if I say okay, employee number 1, and if I say add, this is what you will see. Let's do a couple of experiments. Now for this, you can't add any more nodes for this, but for this top level you can add more nodes. So let's click on plus, and let's say now where do I enter the employee name? Well, let's say if I say name now, right, and if I say if I say add, so what happens is it's getting added uh, not as a okay, child of the employee 1, right? So what I mean is this. Now let's say if I add another because I can't add over here, let's say if I add another employee number, right? Say employee number, let's say employee number 2, and if I say add, see it gets added at the same level, right? Now, so now the Firebase is a document oriented database, right? Now, once again, if you need to know the basics of document-oriented databases, look at our previous lesson on Firebase introduction, right? So now let's try to do some changes here. So what I would like is, now what I would like to have is, okay, so if I put, say, employee number 2, now let's say I can't add anyone here, but let me just, let's say if I click plus, and let's say, okay, next name, let's say John, which is employee number 2 in this case, but it doesn't get added in that manner, right? See, because now the moment I type a value for name, what happens is, so this is like key value pairs, right? Key value, key value, key value. So when I add John, it replaces the value of a previous value of name, right? So if you want, so what you should do is you should make this database in a different manner. So I'm going to delete this to show you how you should do it, right? So I'm going to delete the records or the data I inserted, right? And what I would do now is I would do like this, right? I would say plus. So rather than giving a name value pair, let's say I will give employee number one just, right, without just as the name as employee number one, and let's add and see what's going to happen, right? So when I click add, let's see what's going to happen. So what I should do is just type say employee number one here and say put a plus, just say plus, and under that I would say okay, name is Anne, right? Under that I would say name is, let's say, Anne, and then if I want another value, let us say salary, right? So say salary of Anne is say 40,000, right? And let's say put another add and say okay, address of Anne, right? So this way you can have nested values, right? Let's say address is Melbourne, right? Let's say, right, for example. And now you can click on add, right? Now this way it's like a hierarchical document oriented database, right? So look at our previous lesson on introduction to Firebase to figure out more about this, right? Awesome. So now I have added a sample data item. So now I'm going to add this next sample. Let's say employee number two, right? And add do the same for the employee number two. And let me click the add button, right? Awesome. So this is how you store the sample data for this app, right? Let's see what's next, my viewers. Okay, viewers, so the next thing is when you create a database, you have to also make sure that you understand about the rules, right? What you provide for the database, right? The database rules. So this is the Firebase standard documentation. So if you go through this, you will see when you create a database, you have to also adjust your rules, right? So if you read these documents, it will talk about authentication and the database rules, and there are extra information, right, which you can read, right? So just have a look at this, right? And then for now, because we are testing this app, what we are going to do now is for the app we develop, right? Let's say for this one, give me a sec. So for the app we are going to develop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the rules section by clicking the tab over here, right? Rules. And for now, I'm going to make it read write openly accessible, right? Because I'm testing and doing things. So I would say read is true, right? True, and write is true. So what I did was I made it publicly, read write. But make sure once you are done with the app to put the correct rules to restrict the usage of the database, right? So it's very important. And then you just click publish, right? Awesome. So now the rules are published and you can check the data once again, right? Okay, friends, let's see what's next. Okay, so we did the practical demonstration, and then conclusion is you created a Firebase project, you created a real-time database and inserted sample data, and yeah. So let's see the references for Apple developer docs and what's next, right? Now this is very important, friends. Okay, viewers, so make sure to have a look at the next lesson to complete the full app, because this is just the beginning of it. Have a look at our other videos on Firebase, right? Also have a look at our other videos on Objective-C A to Z, right? And also make sure to have a look at the other series on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data science, right? Because that's where the future is moving, right? So most important thing, just look at the next lesson to complete this app, and we'll see you in the next lesson.